Okay, welcome everybody to the August BPAC meeting. We have a lot of things on the agenda today. Before we get started, can I have somebody volunteer to read the equity and land acknowledgement statement? Cool. Andrew, I'm going to have you read it because you're new and should familiarize yourself with it.
We, as the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission, want to begin this meeting by affirming BPAC's commitment to equity and racial justice. We would like to acknowledge that this meeting is being held on lands that have served as the home for diverse Indigenous communities long before current governments were established here. We pay our respect to the elders and members of these communities, both past and present, and recognize the harms of genocide and colonialism. We will make a conscious effort to reflect on the following questions as we advance through our business and contemplate changes in our community. And we recognize that achieving equity requires our commitment to an ongoing process. How can we seek to repair harm with our work and not erase history? How does our work impact the vulnerability and safety of people who hold many intersecting marginalized identities, including Black, Indigenous, people of color, people with disabilities, and lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning LGBT people? How can we prioritize and center people in our decision-making? How can we be more responsive to local needs? How can our work build community power and share decision-making?
Thank you. I feel like this is new every time I do it. So roll call? Do we normally do roll call? Do we normally go around and introduce ourselves? No.
We have a new person, so we could introduce.
I would prefer that.
Okay, yeah. So we'll go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Mary Rose. I am the current chair of BPAC, and you'd think that by the 8th month, I'd remember how to start the meetings. And then we'll go to my left and do a little ring around.
I'm Hannah. I'm a county youth advocacy appointee, and I am the community engagement chair.
I'm Andrew Birch. I am a new member here in the county at-large number 4 position.
I'm Chris Perlstein. I am the transportation planning policy position and also secretary.
Hi, I'm Ed Rizzuto. I am a county appointee in the disability advocacy seat, and I've been on the commission since 2018. And I'm, excuse me, I'm here with Kit. He's under the table, my seeing eye dog.
Jeff Bacalchuk, I'm a city at-large representative. I've just been reappointed yesterday, and I'm the liaison to the bike walk plan.
Tony Reevy, I'm an at-large member for the county.
Maggie Green, I'm the Recreation, Urban Trails, and Greenways representative and also our social media manager.
Trent Cormier, vice chair, serve on the DevRev committee, and I've been on BPAC for about a year.
John Lawler, I'm represent the county for the seniority advisory. I've been on BPAC for about 11 months and serve on DevRev and also the policy and planning committee.
I'm Wendy Jacobs, county. No, it's on. I think you can turn that one. I'm Wendy. No, it's not.
I'm Nathan Lee. I am the Duke liaison position, and I am also the subcommittee chair for planning and policy, and I've been on since 23. Yeah, summer 23. Yeah.
I am Trevay Willis. I am the paratransit rep for BPAC, and I've been on BPAC since last September, and so far so good. I'm loving it.
And I'm Carl Rister. I'm City Council at-large member. I'm the City Council's liaison to BPAC. And now that we're done with the introductions, Trevay and I we're gonna squeeze up around the table with you guys.
I guess there's me though, Hannah Salvaggio, BPAC staff liaison within the Transportation Department. Yeah, squeeze on over.
I was also going to ask if the participants online could introduce themselves.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rick Roper. I'm with the Durham County Transportation Department as a staff member. I'll let Rosie introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Rosie. I'm on vacation and it's very loud. I'm the youth representative and and I'm on the community engagement committee as well.
Thank you all. From my understanding, we have one excused absence, and that is from Scott Carter. Hannah, did you receive any others?
No.
Great. Would you like to provide us our new member and openings update?
Sure. So I added people in this afternoon, but I think there are some edits still needed to this contact list. But as of today, we had 2 new appointees and then 2 reappointees. So I guess the 2 people that are reappointed for their previous role is Chris Perlstein. Sorry if I, okay. And your role now goes until August 31st, 2028. And then also Jeff, you're reappointed and yours goes for August 31st, 2028 as well. So glad to have you all on for another few years. And then the 3 new people. So one of them is right over here. Andrew Birch, you'll be the county, I think it's at large, number 4 position. Do you want to introduce yourself maybe for a second? Or I don't know if you've talked with anyone yet. No? Okay. Well, excited to have you on. And then the 2 other people, they just got their letters of notification today, so they'll probably join the next meeting. And that is Jordan Powell, who's going to be the walking, running, pedestrian community. And then also Kathleen Peralt, who is going to be the at-large city. So excited to have these new faces, and we have 1 vacancy still. That's the NCCU representative. So still need to kind of do some work to recruit that position. But it's good. We do have a lot of applicants right now. I guess in the last cycle for the city positions, there were 10 applicants. So yeah, it's getting competitive, which is good. But I think the NCCU position is more niche. So still need to kind of do more recruitment there.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that there's a few term expiration dates that have passed that we'll need to update. Yeah, like 4.
All right, I guess everyone take note of all the edits needed and bring them to me at the end of this.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I see another one.
Okay.
Brian Hawkins' position.
I know that was the one that I noticed a second ago when I printed it. But any other updates, let me know.
I'll make a list for you.
Cool.
Okay. On to the next item. Does anybody have any adjustments to the agenda? Okay, go ahead.
For the line item, autonomous vehicles as an accessibility option, I brought that up at the Community Outreach Committee meeting last Tuesday because I had been in San Francisco a couple weeks ago and took a ride in an autonomous vehicle. And as a blind person, I got thrilled about the prospects of having my own car someday. And I floated the idea that perhaps BPAC could get behind a campaign to prompt the city council to buy autonomous cars for blind residents. And I said that sort of jokingly, but perhaps it's getting traction. But unless Carl tells me otherwise, I think we can kind of take that off the agenda for now and maybe consider it somewhere down the road. But It was pretty exciting to be in a car with no driver. We actually put Kit in the driver's seat. And we're driving around San Francisco with my service dog at the wheel. So I don't think we really need to have that on the agenda, but I will say, I've been on this commission since 2018. And as a person who's blind with limited options for transportation, I do want to say that I rely on paratransit a lot. And my ability to get around Durham is so much greater now with the expansions to paratransit that have come into play over the past couple of years. Also other aspects of transportation improvements, but particularly with regard to being able to move around freely with the addition of various car services that have been brought online as part of the paratransit system. It's really a better place for people with disabilities to be moving around right now. So that's all.
And if I can just respond to that, like, so first of all, appreciate the idea of the autonomous vehicle, love the ideas. So let's keep talking about good ideas. But secondly, I really appreciate what we said about paratransit because we've been, this goes back to the campaign before. I started hearing stuff from friends who were like, this is like, the service is so unreliable. It's like, it takes so long. And so we just had a contract literally, I think a couple cycles ago at the city council for the new contract. And we had a long conversation with Sean Egan of transportation about like, okay, we've heard a lot about delays and unreliability. Like, are we getting better? And so he assured us like, yes, we have, like, we've got metrics. We're holding our folks accountable. It's not perfect, but it's good to hear from your perspective as a user that it's getting better. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I'll share that with Sean.
Good.
Thanks.
I'm okay with removing it from the agenda for tonight's discussion. I was thinking, and maybe I heard you incorrectly during the community engagement meeting, but as having like, so there's, you know how there's those, the north zone and the east zone for the Durham Connect for the microtransit. And then in addition to the access buses, I was thinking it could be something that we suggest as like additional vehicles for those areas of the network. So for example, the north zone and the east zone, the microtransit is only available from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. So autonomous vehicles could maybe be something that we suggest for those night hours where people still need to get home or leave home to go to work or something like that. But we can table this discussion for another time since yes, we can do that. Any other adjustments to the agenda?
Yes. I have an edit to the volunteers needed thing. On the 21st, I will be tabling at Duke. And I might need help, but I might also just be sharing a table with Bike Durham, in which case I won't need help. But if you're available during the workday on the 21st of August of this month, it's a Thursday, let me know.
All right, any other adjustments? All right, can I get a motion to approve the adjustments as mentioned?
Motion to approve.
Can I get a second? It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Great. Nathan really wants me to use the gavel. Next item is the approval for the minutes for the June meeting, which were sent out, I believe on Friday, and then again this morning. So hopefully you all had a chance to read them. If nobody has any issues with them, can I get a motion to approve the minutes for the June meeting? All right, it's been moved by Tony. Can I get a second? Second by Maggie. All those in favor? Those opposed? Great. And now we will move on to our public comment section of the meeting, which I know we have two people here from the public. If you would like to, just one at a time, come up, introduce yourself, and tell us what you're here for. You have about 3 minutes. We are not timing you, so.
Great. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Hope Vanetta, and I serve as the Community Connection Specialist at World Relief. First, I want to thank this commission for the important work you do to make Durham safer and more connected for people who walk, bike, and roll. Your efforts directly improve the quality of life and expand access for residents across the county. At World Relief, we walk alongside refugees who are new to Durham. Many of our clients arrive with few transportation options, which can leave them socially isolated and make it difficult to access jobs, school, and community activities. Bicycling can be a powerful bridge. It provides affordable mobility, fosters independence, and helps newcomers connect with the wider Durham community. We're exploring a bike drive in partnership with Durham Bike Co-op and Bike Durham with the goal of providing donated bikes and accessories to 50 to 100 refugee individuals in the spring of 2026. Alongside this, we plan to host bike education classes, including learning to ride sessions for youth and adults and bike safety training in multiple languages. I'd like to ask for your support in this work, whether through helping to raise awareness, connecting us with resources, or simply lending your voice of encouragement. Your partnership would help ensure that newcomers to Durham not only have a means of transportation, but also a way to build belonging and community. Thank you again for your service to Durham and for considering how this initiative could align with your vision for a more accessible and connected city. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else from the public? Okay. That concludes our public comment period. Does anybody have anything they want to say in response, or we can get in touch? You want? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd just like to plus one everything you said. A friend of mine doesn't have access to a car, and so he relies on biking for everything. So, and he's a big reason of why I applied for this. So I definitely plus one everything you said, and I'd enthusiastically encourage everyone here to get involved, especially with the cycling aspect of because it is a great way to move around the city and to have access to the city.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for, oh, go ahead.
Just want to say I'm a big fan of World Relief. You guys are awesome. Really thank you for the work you're doing in Durham for our refugees. I know it's harder work these days with our current administration, so thank you for digging in on that. I'm not usually an emotional guy, but like your comments and Jeff's comments brought a tear to my eyes. It's really beautiful what you're doing to allow people to connect and move around Durham in affordable ways. So thank you for that. And again, Jeff, your comments were pretty awesome. So thank you.
I will say a couple of years ago, myself and the chair at the time, we did come and it was, I think, like a cultural class. And we spoke and kind of focused more on transit. Is that a class that y'all are still doing? And if so, would that be helpful to have someone with BPAC come to that, or?
Absolutely. World Relief
If you're able to go there.
World Relief recently got some support from the state, which made this role possible, the Community Connection Specialist. And so part of the role is to help the refugee families that we serve connect to the city, connect to each other. And so having someone come would be great.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, would love to continue the conversation.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Oh, Wendy.
I just want to echo Carl's comments, but also I assume that you are connected to Koku Nayu, who is the city county refugee coordinator.
I started the role on the 1st, and I'm
Okay.
making my way around to get to know all of the players. And so he's definitely on my list to connect to.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and certainly Hannah to connect with Nayo, because that we've funded that position so that we can make sure that our refugee and immigrant community members know about all the resources that the city and the county has.
Excellent. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Thank you.
Can you tell us what your email is so that we can
Sure.
contact you?
My email address is hvnetta, that's H-V like Victor, E-N-E-T-T-A @wr.org.
Thank you. And then, yeah, like this is very something we would like to do. We have a very tiny budget, but we have a lot of volunteers and a very tiny social media presence. We would be happy to give you those things.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
All
We'll
right.
be in contact for sure.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
Well,
Okay.
Okay, 'cause- okay, I thought you gave it to us because hers wasn't.
No, hers was-
Okay. So-
Me and you.
Okay. Okay, if we have no more public comments, then we will continue to our guest presentation, which is from Brooke Roper, who is online. You may go ahead, Brooke.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. Are y'all able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Oh, okay, perfect. Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Brooke Roper. I'm with the Durham County Transportation Department. I am a transportation planner and one of the project managers for the Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail Plan. Thank you so much for inviting me out to speak with BPAC again tonight. I came back, I was here previously in the winter for our phase 1 engagement, and we are just kicking off our phase 2 engagement. So very excited to be here with you all tonight. And I'll get started. So as most of you are well aware, but for those who may be unfamiliar, a rail trail is simply a path that is built on a former rail line for activities like walking, bicycling, sometimes even horseback riding. As you can imagine, the flat terrain makes these trails very optimal for outdoor activities with a low slope, and especially when it comes time to actually build the trail. Rail trails are a growing trend across the country. They offer many benefits and have been linked to, just connecting people with nature and supporting local businesses, providing healthy, eco-friendly, active ways to get around. And they also foster a sense of community. So on this slide, you can see a couple of examples of rail trails. Of course, in our own backyard, we have the American Tobacco Trail. This is a 22-mile rail trail that spans from downtown Durham. It traverses Durham, Wake, and Chatham counties. The Tobacco Trail was also built within segments from 2000 to 2014. We also have the Capitol Crescent Trail, which is an 11-mile rail trail that is in Maryland and goes through numerous urban areas and more rural areas as well. And then we have this last photo shows the Virginia Creeper Trail, which is a 34-mile rail trail. It goes through the Appalachian Highlands, and it's known for its scenic beauty and route. So the rail line that runs from downtown Durham to Roxborough has a rich history. It was originally used for the transportation of agricultural goods like tobacco and textiles, and it was very vital to the local economy. It began operations in the 1890s. However, the railroad decommissioned this corridor in operations in 1983. So it has been unused for a few decades, but since then, over the years, there's been members of the community and advocacy groups that have really pushed for and advocated to repurpose this historic rail corridor into a trail for public use. So this The Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail project has been part of numerous planning efforts that date back to the 1991 Little River Corridor Open Space Plan. It was also highlighted in the 2011 City and County Trails and Greenways Master Plan and the 2006 Durham County Capital Improvement Program as well. So the Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail Plan is now fully underway, and it is a community-driven plan aimed to transform 18 miles of this unused corridor from downtown Durham to the Person County boundary. The trail doesn't exactly end at Person County. So Person County has done their own feasibility study to assess the potential of building a rail trail within Person County. And that's also linked on our website if you are interested. But for the purposes of our plan, we're solely focusing on approximately 18. It's actually less than 18, 18 miles within Durham County. So this slide is just acquainting you a little bit more with the corridor and some of the key features that the rail trail would pass through. They're starting kind of from the south end, closer to downtown Durham. There is an existing trail intersection. I guess it's, yeah, right near Penny's Bend, the Mountains to Sea Trail, which is along the Eno. There would be 5 proposed trail intersections that the rail corridor would intersect, including the downtown Durham Rail Trail, the North Ellerby Creek Trail, and the East Coast Greenway as well. The study is reviewing 19 different road crossings. So it crosses a lot of different roads, and we're assessing, you know, how can we make these crossings as safe as possible. The trail would also utilize 2 underpasses at I-85 and Camden Avenue as well. There would be 9 different stream crossings with 3 existing trestle bridges. These are historic bridges that cross over Little River, Eno River, and Ellerby Creek crossings. And so our study is also assessing, you know, high level, can these trestle bridges be reused and used for pedestrians and the like. The study area, which is a mile buffer from the center line of the proposed trail, includes 9 schools in the study area. There would also be 15 parks and preserves, including, you know, the downtown Durham parks, but also Penny's Bend Nature Preserve, as I mentioned, and going farther north, Horton Grove Nature Preserve, and even the Lake Mickey area. So moving on. This is a collaborative effort between 5 key organizations. I myself am with Durham County, specifically the Durham County Transportation Department. We're also collaborating with the Triangle West Transportation Planning Organization, the City of Durham Parks and Recreation Department, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and also the East Coast Greenway Alliance. In addition to these partners who are part of the project management team, we also have a project advisory committee, a trail identity committee, and then we're also garnering input from community members at large. So the planning study, here are some of the goals for the planning study. The plan will include an inventory and assessment of the 18-mile rail corridor within Durham. We will collaborate with government agencies and the community and different community partners to best honor the trail's history, surrounding areas, and ensure accessibility for all. We're also looking into opportunities for connections to key places that residents would like to get to. In line with that, we want to seek extensive community input to inform the plan and ensure a united front when we bring this plan forward for adoption. We'll also be creating visual designs and renderings to help inspire a shared vision for the trail, taking what we heard from the community and putting that into visuals that the community can react to. And then lastly, we'll be looking at defining clear strategies, planning level cost estimates, for actually implementing the plan. What are some sources where we can actually fund design and construction moving forward beyond this planning study? So right now we are in phase 2 of engagement. This is a very exciting phase for us. We have taken what we've heard from phase 1 engagement and are now putting it out for public comment and input that will span from August 18th. So it started yesterday and will span into September 22nd. So during phase 1, we gathered feedback through a variety of strategies. We had an online survey, public workshops, and pop-up events to best meet people where they are in the community. And we also held 3 different focus group meetings to meet with key stakeholders. This included meetings with Northern Durham residents, the Bragtown Community Association, and the Stagville Descendants Council. So phase 1 ran from January to March, and we heard from nearly 3,000 people. The results have been invaluable to helping shape the next steps for phase 2. And I'll just note as well, we have more detail about phase 2 results and survey input all posted on our website. All of the raw community comments have been de-identified and dropped in to our website. So if you're curious to dive deeper into the details, please feel free to visit our site. I think it's pretty user-friendly, but there's also all the raw comments if you're curious. But here are some of our survey results from phase 2. As you can see, we had a majority of residents strongly support the rail trail with, it was 71% strongly support and 10% support. We heard from some people who had strong concerns too. So on the slide, you can see 15% strongly opposed. We also noted and went through all of the open-ended comments and sorted those. You can on the slide. So some opportunities that residents were excited about were the connections, connecting people to different neighborhoods and the trails in the area, along with schools and recreation and cultural assets. People were very excited about the activities they could do along the trail, hiking, biking, potentially linking up to a kayak put-in. And then also another opportunity that came kind of sifted to the top was the possibility for education along the trail. As I mentioned, the trail has a rich history. So that was kind of a highlight for many folks. And also the area has natural significance as well. Some concerns that we heard, one of our top concerns has been around safety, specifically around pedestrian crossings, speeding cars, crime was mentioned, proximity to hunting areas, adequate lighting, and some potential privacy issues and disturbance around residential areas. Other concerns of note that we heard from the community included long-term sustainability, so concerns about littering and how are we going to make sure that this trail is well maintained and protected into the future. We also heard a lot of comments regarding, what amenities are we going to have? Will there be restrooms, sufficient parking, things like that. So all this feedback is guiding the next steps for engagement. Our phase 2 engagement strategy looks very similar to our phase 1. We'll be conducting another round of public workshops. Our first workshop was yesterday at the Durham County Main Library. It was a wonderful event, and I believe some of you were there. Our next 2 workshops will be next week on Wednesday, August 27th at Edison Johnson Recreation Center from 6 to 8 p.m. And our final workshop will be Thursday, August 28th at Spruce Pine Lodge from 6 to 8 p.m. So we hope to see you all out there and hope that you encourage your friends, family, and neighbors to join us as well. Our online survey has also been posted. It was posted yesterday, and it will remain on our website until September 22nd. We strongly encourage people to come to workshops, but if you can't make it, you can also do the survey, or you can do both if you'd like. Our team will also be hosting over 10 pop-up events, again, meeting people where they're at key locations, at high foot traffic areas, catching people where they are. We're also hosting over 5 focus group meetings. We're still confirming a few, but we'll be meeting with the same groups we met with previously, in addition to some other groups as well. The last 2 items here, the project coordination meetings, are simply to meet with key technical staff. We've met with some folks in city transportation, and then our general information sessions are what's happening here. I've been making rounds to different groups around Durham to just ensure that they have this plan information, and I'll be at DOS tomorrow night. So here you can see, this is a slide showing the different planning sections that we have for our phase 2 engagement. Since the trail is about 18 miles long, we thought it would be best if we could break down the sections into smaller segments for people to more easily digest. So starting from the south and moving north, we have 5 sections: the downtown Durham section, Bragtown, 2 Rivers, Bahama, and Rougemont. So here are the types of draft images and planning level designs that you can expect to see this phase. We're going to share draft ideas for concepts at underpasses. We'll also have some typical cross-section ideas shared. You can, on the far right picture, we have trailhead designs as well. Again, these are planning level. We also have some visuals of trail crossings as well. So that this is just a taste of what you can expect in our survey and at one of the public workshops. So how can you get involved? Again, please feel free to join one of our public workshops. As mentioned, they're also posted on our website if you didn't catch the dates when I mentioned them. Please complete the online survey if you're able to. It will be available till September 22nd. And lastly, please just spread the word. we would greatly appreciate if you could let your friends, family, and neighbors know about this. So with that, I thank you, and I'm here if you have any questions.
Sorry, great. Thank you, Brooke. Before I open up everybody's opportunity for questions or comments, I just wanted to ask if if we have any comments or anything directly related to the plans or anything, we should maybe hold those for one of your workshops or this online survey versus having them here is more of a question for you.
Oh, I can definitely record any comments that BPAC has and can bring that back to my team for sure.
Okay, cool. I might have the planning and policy group review it more thoroughly so that we can have like an actual written comments for you. But if anybody has any comments about the plans or the presentation or anything, feel free to do that now. We have about 18 minutes to discuss it, so.
I have two comments about the presentation, just fleshing out a couple of things that Brooke said having to do with the importance of this quarter. And I look at that in two ways. One is, and in both ways as a transportation corridor. One is it was transformative to Northern Durham, just like the east-west rail line that created Durham itself was to where we're sitting right now. It transformed Hunkadora into Bahama. It created the community of Rougemont and caused people to move from the smaller community of Red Mountain, and created in southern Person County, Timberlake, which the railroad called Helena. It also had a flag stop that I don't think anyone's been able to find a photo of that served Farintosh Plantation. So it completely transformed Northern Durham as a transportation corridor when it was built, and provided, in addition to the freight service, Brooke mentioned passenger service with many stations in Northern Durham and southern Person counties. And then, Brooke, the other thing I'd add to your great presentation is, in today's terms, this will create a spine of non-automotive transportation that goes from Roxborough all the way almost to New Hill. So it's a really exciting corridor that has many purposes. And one other thing you didn't mention is that what the railroad called the belt line, the Durham belt line, was integral with this railroad. It's the same railroad. So when that trail is built and this trail is built, there's just a tiny gap between this very long corridor and the American Tobacco Trail. So I'm, after decades, I'm so excited to see this happening.
Could you write what you just said up and send them to us, to Brooke? Because I think it's really important for people to know the history and to have that vision and understand what we're doing in Durham is the reinvigorating these rail lines. I mean, really, that's the Beltline Trail too, for today's world. And I just think it's important because I know I've certainly heard from a lot of folks who are worried about this trail as if it's something, unusual or not normal, whereas we have, to your point, there were trains coming through people's backyards before. There were many stops. Unfortunately, the Rougemont train depot it's not there anymore. It was there within the last few years, and since then it's been demolished, which is really sad that we've lost that historic. Yes. Fairly recently. Somebody who bought that shopping center in Rougemont. I know it's really terrible, but yeah, so I think it's even more important that people really understand that people have always lived along transportation corridors. And this is an existing transportation corridor that we are bringing back to life in a different way. So thank you. So yeah, if you could write it up, because you were really eloquent.
I'm just trying to understand from the map, where does this actually start in Durham? It's kind of ambiguous. So do we have an actual place where it's set to start?
Yeah, so it's if you know Beauty World, it's right near Beauty World and Avondale Drive. Um, and we are hoping, as Tony mentioned, that it will link up directly to the downtown Durham Rail Trail would be the southern terminus.
You mentioned that there's like Person County is also doing their section north. So how long, if it all gets built, like how long is their section, I guess, is my question.
So their section, I believe, is another 8 miles into the city of Roxborough. So it would create a 26-mile network total.
Great.
So I don't really have a lot of context to this, but I assume that like that 81% in support is pretty overwhelming. But I think what might be useful, you know, I get frustrated when I see some of these comments about transportation infrastructure or other changes to our city, especially that are not sort of the status quo, the way we've typically done things, that seem contradictory. So when I see the concerns that it's simultaneously gentrification, but it's also going to bring crime, that starts raising alarm bells to me. And I wonder if you guys have done any, I mean, with 81% in support, maybe this isn't a huge issue, but any kind of data gathering about relative impacts of other similar projects like the American Tobacco Trail on these things to sort of counter those narratives or provide context to this that might help either explain, prove, disprove those kind of things, or kind of help mitigate the spread of sort of narratives that maybe don't really apply to those kinds of projects.
Yeah, that is a great question. So the studies that I've seen have predominantly said, you know, generally trails can actually help reduce crime and improve safety. They, as y'all know, they, you know, they can increase visibility, foot traffic, and kind of improve natural surveillance in these previously, you know, unused areas and corridors. So from the studies that I've seen, they actually help to activate spaces and make them safer. There was a 2011 study done on the American Tobacco Trail that also found, you know, low crime on the trail, especially compared to any surrounding areas for the American Tobacco Trail. I believe that study, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It's the first thing that will come up if you Google it. But the American Tobacco Trail, yeah, it found relatively low crime rates on the trail and much lower than the surrounding area. It did note, you know, the need for some areas to be reevaluated using, you know, better lighting, better, you know, visibility in some places and more thoughtful design. So while there are studies suggesting that trails can make places safer, we are looking into ways that we can best incorporate trail design aspects to ensure safety and ensure feelings of safety, like lighting. We've gotten comments about fencing, buffering, like vegetated buffering or fencing, having clear mile markers as well for when EMS needs to quickly access a person in need. We've also met with the sheriff's office and talked about some potential monitoring of the trail. From my understanding, the tobacco trail is regularly monitored. And so the same would be applied to the future Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail.
I think Chris raised a good point, but when you look at those numbers, 15% strongly opposed, there's no way in the current political climate that we're probably ever going to get a number lower than that. There's probably 10% that will oppose anything that the city or county proposes, just because that's the way they are. I think trying to convince those 15% is futile. Because, we're never going to get 100% on any issue, even within areas that are fairly homogeneous politically. And just given the climate, has there been anybody elected countywide with more than 85% of the vote? I don't recall anything like that. So it's always going to be some percentage that are going to oppose everything because they don't like the current government. So I just think it's pointless to try and put a lot of effort into convincing those naysayers.
One comment I'd make, and my mom taught at what was Mangum Primary Center for 25 years, I would suspect that the statistics you see there vary widely by the location, because I think in the last two zones of the trail, Rougemont and Behemoth, the percentage of people opposing might be higher than in the rest of Durham. So I think we have to be cautious about that.
I have a question. Have you guys, I don't know where you are in the process. Is it possible to phase the trail, where phase 1, you just go through and bulldoze everything and rip out the tracks, all the vegetation, and then just gravel, and then come back later to do the asphalt and the other major upgrades, but first just clear it and gravel it?
Yeah, that's another great question. So we're not at that point in the study yet, but yes, we will likely need to phase the actual development for the trail, and that will be looked at in further detail after this phase of engagement. We've broken up the trail into potential segments. They're very rough right now, those 5 segments I mentioned earlier, and those could be starting points for determining, what are kind of these bite-sized pieces that could be developed sooner rather than later. We have also had some higher level discussions about, what could the composition of the trail look like in the short term versus long term. There are rail tracks that are still there. There's a lot of vegetation growing up through it, but the first step would be to remove those tracks and either infill with some sort of asphalt or potentially gravel. So we will be thinking through cost-effective strategies, and to ensure that the trail could be built efficiently and swiftly as possible.
Thanks again, Brooke. I just want to respond to Jeff's comments. I think you're right on some level, but I think part of the job of staff and electeds is to take the engagement process seriously and to listen to what people are saying and try to, we're not promising folks a veto, but we are allowing them voice. And so we want to hear what they're saying. So I think part of our job is to see if we can, and I think Brooke's done a good job of this, how do we take those comments and find ways to maybe flex a little bit so that more people can be happy with it. Brooke, I have a question for you. I wonder if you'd pull up slide 13 again, because I know we've been talking a little bit about what the trail might look like, different cross sections. And so I just wanted to, I don't know if you're aware, but we've been having conversations at BPAC about American Tobacco Trail and the use of e-bikes as e-bikes get more prevalent and faster. I'm just kind of wondering if you talk through or like share with folks some of the conversations we've had about these different cross sections and whether we would at points separate bikes from pedestrians, that whole thing. So just if you can give a flavor of some of those discussions we've had on the advisory team.
Yeah, for sure. So e-bikes, that's a great question. We want to promote feelings of safety. We've heard from some residents, e-bikes are too fast, and we've heard from others, I need to use, an e-bike is great to use. I can go much farther. The trail cross section that we're currently working with is this one here. It would look similar, it would feel similar to the tobacco trail, having one side, going one way and the other going the opposite. So would want to have clear signage about how bikes, pass pedestrians or slower users on the trail, similar to the tobacco trail. But right now, and I don't know if you can actually see my mouse, but the cross section below, which is just a 12 to 14 foot paved path with two side shoulders of 2 to 5 foot gravel, is what we're exploring at this time. And that would essentially also accommodate e-bikes, bikes, any other wheeled transportation. One other cross section that is not shown on this slide is for equestrian use. During our conversations with our Northern Durham resident focus group, we've heard a strong appetite for horseback riding along the trail. So we have compiled a potential cross section similar to the one just described and shown on the screen to include a horse path on the side.
Great, thank you. I have one question and one comment, and I don't know if you're necessarily at this point in the design yet, but being a regular user of the ATT, the intersections with the roadways, I think would be better for trail users if they were either raised or there were speed bumps on either side of the trail intersection in order to protect the trail users more directly. So I don't think those exist currently anywhere along the ATT. So that might be something to try to consider when designing this trail. And I mostly just brought that up because I noticed like with the trailhead parking lot, that would be a lot of traffic directly in front of the trail crossing. And so that could be a really common conflict point for people trying to get to the trail versus people already using the trail. And then my question, which is sort of related, is are you all exploring any options for development along the trail? So the ATT has a little bit of development along the trail, but very few access points to it. Whereas there's, I believe the Little Sugar Creek Trail in Charlotte has a lot of development along it.
And this, like the rail trail in Charlotte, this along South Boulevard too. Yeah. A ton.
Yeah. So I don't know if you all are reaching that area of the planning discussions or anything. But I know I would personally be interested in kind of where that is headed, if it is heading anywhere. Like if we're considering having any development directly access the trail versus kind of leaving it more rural and undeveloped.
Yes, and that's a great question as well. All great questions. So while We on the planning side, the planning team, we are only looking at acquiring land that is publicly owned for trailheads and amenities. However, we have been in discussion with local neighbors adjacent to the trail at key locations to discuss, the possibility to include future access points, to understand how they feel about the future trail and incorporating their input. We have, so for some examples, in Rougemont, along Red Mountain Road, there is a commercial center. I believe there's a little pizza joint and bar area. And we've spoken with that property owner. From my understanding, they're very excited about the trail and the potential to get, more foot traffic. We've also had discussions with some Bragtown community members for a potential Bragtown market connection. We've had discussions with folks from Soul Sanctuary as well. So in general, we do anticipate, trails do tend to, bring excitement to an area, bring more economic development and growth. But the city and county, again, they have in place, zoning rules and future place types or future land uses that will help guide what type of development is allowed where. And we also have the urban growth boundary too, which helps to ensure rural Durham stays rural. So kind of a long-winded answer, but yes, we are starting conversations with private landowners for connections to the trail in anticipation of the trail generating economic growth in the area. And then I think your other question was regarding the trail crossings. So we are looking, there are 19 different crossings and 2 underpasses that we're considering. During phase 2 engagement, we do have some information about what types of trail crossing improvements we're citing at the different crossings along the trail. We have 2 different types, including signalized and unsignalized, based on the local context of the area, the high injury network, and vehicle volumes on the roadways. So we are doing a kind of a high level preliminary look at what kind of trail crossings should be applied to different areas. And essentially, the plan is to have a toolkit for when it does come time to build, to have a toolkit to say, these are the treatments that our staff recommend and what we've also heard from the community. So it's kind of a combination, but that is part of our phase 2 engagement. If you come out or join us on the online survey.
Great, thank you. And I know Chris had a comment real quick.
Yeah, I love Mary's comment about, or question around development in the vicinity of the Greenway. And I just kind of want to, I guess, encourage everybody at BPAC and our liaisons to be thinking about that with the UDO, because I think there's a synergy there that's really important. And if we want folks to be taking advantage of non-car based transportation, they need to live, they need to work, they need to shop near infrastructure that allows them to do that. And so I think we need to really be thinking about that in terms of how we advocate directly about these kinds of projects, but also more broadly with the UDO about what are the things we want to see? There's some really interesting changes in terms of mixed use development that's allowed, that kind of gives opportunities for something that's a little bit more replicating like the less intense uses of downtowns, and can that sort of exist in different places along bus routes, greenways, that kind of stuff, and can that be a major factor in our ability to create a more affordable Durham for folks, and also a safer Durham in terms of reducing vehicle miles, which ties into our Vision Zero stuff. So, reducing BMT is one of the most important things, and this is a great tool to do that.
Ooh, I can't. Works now. Oh, okay. Thank you. I have another comment, but just the last comment you made, I just want to reiterate, there has been a lot of conversation about how do we have affordable housing in Durham, and we don't have affordable housing without having density and a lot of supply. So that's what has been borne out in cities across the United States, that if you want to have affordable housing, you need to build a lot of housing. And that's also how we solve our problem around homelessness. So just want to put that out there, because there's a lot of things being said that are not accurate. And I just want to, based on the market economy that we live in, the tools that we have available to us, it's also going to mean a lot of density and building a lot of housing. So I just want to say, Brooke, thank you so much. I want to encourage everyone to get very engaged in this. And I can already hear from the kinds of comments that people are making, like, and those of you who do use the ATT, like, let's learn from the ATT and make this better. And everyone here has a lot of expertise. So please come to the sessions. Please fill out the survey. Please spread the word to folks. Anyone who wants to see more trails in Durham, wants to see more not car-centric transportation, they need to get involved in this process. Back in 2006, so I'm really dating myself, 2005, I was on the Durham Planning Commission when the American Tobacco Trail was being built. And we heard the same things. People didn't want it coming through their backyards. They were worried about safety. They were worried about crime. Even developers were opposed to it. And then as soon as the trail got built, I would never forget the development down by South Point, Jordan Lake, or I can't remember, it's South Point, whatever. As soon as the trail got built, then they started marketing the trail. And what we've seen has been amazing, is that the diversity of people in Durham who use the trail to get exercise, people like you who use it for transportation. And, that's what the facts are, is that when these trails get built, they really, as you said, Brooke, they create community, they create opportunity for people. And the fact that this can link up with our existing trail system is incredible. As you said, a spine. And it has been in our plans for 34 years. 34 years we have been waiting to build this trail. And, I have to give a shout out to Brooke and the Durham County Transportation staff, because this is being led by NCDOT. This is an NCDOT project, okay? They are the chief sponsor on this. They are.
Say it again.
Yes, NCDOT is the lead on this project. And we also, the Conservation Fund, Brooke, correct, we are getting statewide support. We just got a $500,000 grant. So, in terms of the impact on Durham taxpayers, we are minimizing the impact on taxpayers, if that's a concern that some people have. But really need everyone to really come out to these meetings, fill out the survey, spread the word. I am excited about all of what's available on this trail, schools, nature trails, Stagville Plantation. I mean, talk about getting traffic to places. So cultural sites, libraries, Durham Tech. the city's new industrial park is on there. And again, we have to make sure this is friendly for e-bikes. A few months ago, I was in Japan. I think we discussed this at this meeting, and I'm sitting watching 80-year-old people on the very slow e-bikes in Japan on trails. So, you know, there's all different kinds of e-bikes, and we have to make sure that gets fixed on the city side. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Brooke. We'll probably have some discussion around this during their Planning and Policy Committee meeting and hit you up for more questions and comments later on. But thank you.
Great. Thank you all so much. Feel free to reach out with any questions or comments from BPAC. Thanks again.
All right, moving on to new business. I will say we're a little bit behind, but we crossed out one of our new business items, so I'm okay with that. The next meeting location will be in person on September 16th at the Forest Hills Neighborhood Clubhouse. This is going to be around the bike walk plan. So we're hoping to have some printed out maps of Durham and different areas for the bike walk plan that we can look at. We also invited the sheriff and/or representatives from the sheriff's office to come to that meeting, so hopefully we'll hear from them. There will not be any Wi-Fi or Zoom for that meeting. However, Chris and I are looking into different ways to record the meeting so that we could still have something to upload after. And also just to help Chris record minutes for that. And then I guess before I move on, does anybody have any questions about that? Great. The next item is the UDO task force. So there were some emails that went around, I don't know, a month ago at this point, maybe longer, about whether or not we needed to continue the UDO task force. So before making that decision, I reached out to Robin with the planning department, I believe, who is, you know, one of the people leading the UDO rewrite, about, you know, what it is that we could be providing or what we need to be looking at from our viewpoint and what would help them with the UDO rewrite. So I made some notes. So one of the things that he suggested was singling out any requirement differences between what DevRev uses for their cheat sheet on development projects and what the UDO is the UDO rewrite is requiring. Also, Module 3 is going to be coming out soon. So he said late September, early October for the engagement process on that. The module itself should come out a little bit before then. And this is going to focus a lot more on infrastructure and environment. He's been working with our Vision Zero coordinator, Lauren Grove, on you know, sort of a pseudo street design plan manual type thing that can be embedded in the UDO prior to an actual manual being developed. They're also looking at transit opportunity areas and density. So these are still areas that he thinks we should be looking at, providing comments on. And then I also said that we would include him on any emails for the task force in case he wanted to drop into those meetings. And I think originally this was going to be a question as to whether or not we needed to continue the task force. But I think based on discussions with Robin and since then with other people who had previously attended those meetings, the plan is for the task force to still continue. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Go ahead. Big Mike.
When I originally proposed the task force, it was a little bit naive because I was trying to accelerate the influence of change in a couple areas. And as we got into the first couple meetings, it became apparent that probably the task, you know, this UDO was probably the wrong vehicle for trying to do the changes that I was looking to do. And that's why I floated the idea, do we want to continue? But since then, we've had a number of discussions, and rather than trying to drive the process, I think we want to be more actively involved in responding to the process. And as they come out with new modules to be looked at, the idea would be to communicate those to all members of BPAC and then schedule at the same time a meeting relative, because when those modules come out, they're going to have there's going to be a time frame for getting feedback. So the idea is to schedule a meeting two Mondays after whenever we do the distribution for the task force. Anyone in BPAC who really cares about something and wants to join that meeting can. But if it's also something that if you just want to put your comments in an email to me, we'll have that as part of the discussion at the task force. And then some of these may involve things that require research farther, where we need to know more information, which it may take a second meeting or maybe even a third to resolve before we're ready to make comments. But at some point, we'll be able to say, okay, for this module, here's our feedback. And that could be either to say we really like it, or we'd like to tweak this, or we really are concerned about this. But I doubt if that will come up very often. But the key is also with it working within the timeframes. One of the questions that we had as the task force is, do we have the permission to respond directly to planning, or should this come up, here's our first review, and should that then come up for a vote of approval for the larger group? Okay. And I think that I'm hoping the timeframes are pretty relaxed, so that's pretty realistic. If the timeframes are not that relaxed, then we may have to find a way of accelerating that. But the question is about that issue of review. What are people's thoughts on that? Getting the larger group to bless the comments.
I don't personally have a problem with submitting the comments directly without like full vote on them. However, it would be good, I think, to send them out ahead of time. And then maybe, like, if you're gonna do that, maybe per module or something, then we could have like at the end of it, a formal thing that we vote on and submit as BPAC. But like per module, those could be task force led. But give us time to, like maybe a week to read them, like send them out a week ahead of when you want to submit them.
So we'll say, here's our recommendations, looking for your feedback. Sorry. Here's our recommendations. If you have concerns, let us know within a week, and we'll take those into consideration. If we don't have any, then we'll pass these on. Something like that.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. Does anybody have any concerns about that process? All right, sounds good. Any questions in general about the task force? Okay, we'll move on to our next item then about volunteers.
Yes, it's fall, so you know what that means. It's going to be fall soon. More opportunities to table. I'm sure you guys have all loved the emails from me, but the online version of this agenda, I think, includes the link, but we have 3 upcoming events that I wanted to just shout out here. Really looking for volunteers. Whoever's available, can be smaller shifts for the larger windows of time, but would love to get a variety of faces out there. So Nathan mentioned the the closest in time one to us now, Thursday at Duke, I think from 1 to 3 p.m. There's a fair to get engaged with folks. Nathan is taking the lead on tabling, but would love to have anyone else who's available come on out and do that. Then looking ahead in September, we have Durham Pride. Bike Durham, I believe, is walking in the parade and is happy to have us walk with them. So if anyone is interested in joining in the parade, please let me know. We'll coordinate with Bike Durham.
That's probably like 10 or 11 in the morning, right?
Yeah, Saturday morning. I can look up the exact time, but yeah.
What day is this?
Saturday, September 27th. September 27th. Yeah. And I think we're just gonna walk in the parade unless there is a lot of interest in tabling, in which case we could reach out about tabling at that. And then last but not least, we'll be here before we know it. The Open Streets Movable City will be coming up October 5th. Bike Durham is doing a ton of planning for that and want to table. We're also going to use that as an opportunity to hand out the youth helmets that we got from NCDOT this year. So that I'll get this more in my update, but the more people we have for that, the better. When there's rushes of kids, you got to fit them, and the more hands, the better. So again, if you are interested in the Duke event, I would say just reach out to Nathan at this point and he can coordinate with you. If you're interested in Pride or the Movable City events in September and October, shoot me an email. Happy to help coordinate with all of the details.
I will add the Pride Parade is from 12 to 2 p.m. However, there's probably like a get ready for the parade thing potentially starting at 11. I don't know how early they start those things. But you would need to be there before 12. And we'll have more information once we receive information from Bike Durham. I don't know the route, but I know it starts at Duke East Campus. I want to
Usually
say
goes kind of like around, like down sort of Broad Street, right? And then it's sort of around East Campus, isn't it, essentially?
yeah, I think it
In the neighborhoods
circles
around
East
there, yeah.
Campus. I'm not seeing anything online, but it might be hidden somewhere. All right, any questions about those? Yeah, you.
I don't know if people have paid attention to the details for the movable city street closure. That's a really big deal to me. There's a lot of cities that are similar size to us that have done open streets for a long time now, and we've been behind the times. This is a huge segment of that corridor that's being closed down. So I'm super excited about it. I hope it goes well, and I hope everybody shows up. It's not often you get an opportunity to have streets dedicated for human use. So it's going to be, they're closing down Blackwell, Corcoran, and Foster, all the way from essentially the ballpark, or I think it actually might go from the American Tobacco Trail, all the way up past like Glass Jug, past where the farmer's market is. So
I believe
it's
it
huge.
from Ellerby Creek Trail to ATU.
Oh, okay, Ellery Creek Trail, so even further.
Yeah.
And that's part of like the movable city thing, except for it's going to be for the first time ever a
Yeah.
full-on formal large street closure.
Yeah, so the open streets concept is that there's no vehicle traffic through this area, so you get to do whatever you want. Walking around, biking, skateboarding. There's going to be a few people with tables, some vendors. Bike Durham is still currently working on getting sponsors for the event in terms of like, who wants to show up with a table, stuff like that. So it's basically going to be like how the farmer's market is on Foster, but the entire length of the road. So I think it's going to be really great for the businesses along that corridor. I mean, areas by the ballpark currently receive that often because they close down that section of the street often, but the rest of the corridor doesn't really see that very much. So yeah, bring your children. We're gonna try to hand out some helmets to kids who don't have them. It's from, I believe, 1 to 4. Go ahead.
10 to 5.
10 to 5. Is it?
That's pretty cool. We approved the resolution just on Monday, so yeah, or yesterday, yeah.
Okay, we have it listed as 12 to 4 specifically on the Movable City website, but that might be like to include setup and takedown and stuff, yeah. So the event itself will be from 12 to 4. We'll probably need people at least an hour ahead and probably an hour after for setup and takedown, specifically for what BPAC will be doing there. Yep.
So as part of this event, we're going to be doing an intersection treatment to demonstrate what's happening with the downtown Durham bike lanes. So the intersection of Blackwell and Jackie Robinson will have protected intersection treatment. I need volunteers to figure out how to put this on the ground with duct tape, spray paint, other types of paint, and figure out how to mimic a concrete island in the corners, which we didn't really figure out, whether that's cardboard or that's a planter or something like that, but I'm gonna need a lot of volunteer help to do this at Blackwell and Jackie Robinson, and if we have the time and people also protected intersection treatment at Trinity and Washington, which is not actually part of the corridor, but we floated the idea. So probably some other pieces of the of that project that are just paint and not necessarily, like we're looking at doing raised intersections, but you can't really demonstrate that when you close that to cars. So we're looking at some of the treatments on the two ends of the project to show people how to get on and off, get off the ATT, get onto this corridor, get off this corridor, get on the Ellerby Creek Trail, and show how that could feel comfortable for not just a cyclist, but a family of four that decides they actually want to bike downtown. So looking for volunteers for that. Bike Durham and the city, which is basically me, are partnering on that to illustrate some of the concepts from the downtown Durham bike lanes that you may have commented on this past spring.
How should BPAC help and get involved with it? Should they email you, or do you want it to be where everyone emails Mary and gets a list, and like how could you use the most help? Do you think like on the grounds, or
I'm getting quantities right now to Bike Durham, who's going to purchase materials like chalk and duct tape, but I think you would just need to email John Talmadge and Lauren Grove and CC me. I haven't been directly involved in the planning of the event, but I'll be there for it. And I think that it'll be like the day before when we put down the treatment. So I think that would be the Friday, October the 3rd, or Saturday, October the 4th, in preparation for the event on Sunday, October 5th.
Okay, that sounds good. So yeah, definitely want some BPAC volunteers for that and the helmets. 'Cause it sounds like it's going to be a really big event.
I hope so.
If anything, people will know about it because the road's shut. So
Yeah. Should we start saving our cardboard boxes so you can build concrete fake concrete things?
If you have a clever idea, or crafty people from the scrap exchange, you know how they would build a cardboard version of a concrete island.
They currently have a lot of cardstock on sale, cardstock. All right, we got lots of cardstock options. They shared it on their Instagram that they have a lot of cardstock, so
Yeah.
they're trying to get rid of it.
You can use your bicycle pencils, but
Yeah.
stencil.
Stencil.
So yeah, I think I just talked about this with Lauren Grove and John Talmadge like last Wednesday. So like we just threw this together. So I would just talk to him and CC Lauren, who's actually planning the event, and me. But I think they're reaching out for volunteers. Bike Durham is, I just can't remember the guy's name. Is it?
Kyle.
Kyle, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle is the Bike Durham contact person. But me and John Talmadge and Lauren Grove are the people talking about what logistics of spray painting and taping up an intersection.
Yeah. If anybody needs anybody's email, feel free to reach out to me. I've got all of them.
is this rain or shine? I'm assuming so.
I believe it's rain or shine. Yeah.
Because I'm like, I might think about materials. Cardboard would be
Good point.
kind of sad in the rain, but yeah.
In my last 1 minute of this section, because this is sort of related, the National Week Without Driving ends on October 5th. So it's from September 29th through October 5th. Bike Durham is also planning some stuff around that. But if you would like to participate and not drive yourself anywhere that week, do it. You can also reach out to me if you have any questions on how to go about doing that. I've made a really lengthy Google document on how to get around Durham without a car. So, okay, so our next section, actually first, does anybody have any questions on that? On that volunteer stuff? Okay. The next section is our committee and liaison reports. So we will start with Wendy Jacobs, if you're available.
Well, a lot of my announcements were going to be about the rail trail. I'll just share a few things. they're kind of joint things with Carl. But at our, just more globally around transportation, which I think is important for BPAC to know about, is that we had an update we had a joint city-county school board meeting last week, which I think we're one of the only governments to do these type of collaborative joint meetings, and had a presentation on having a passenger rail stop at RTP. We had a presentation from Jason Ortner, who's head of the NCDOT Rail Division, rep from Go Triangle, our Triangle West TPO, and who else am I leaving out? Oh, RTP, the RTP Foundation, because RTP is, first of all, they are working on a new plan called RTP 3.0, where they're bringing a whole new land use plan that's going to allow mixed use and residential. And RTP, we started out in the hub, but this is a plan that will open up the possibility for more of that type of development in RTP. And everyone is working right now on a multimodal hub in RTP, which is going to be for a center point for BRT, bus, also the Triangle Bikeway plan. And then the passenger rail stop in RTP would be very close to the multimodal hub, and there would be connectivity. So NCDOT Rail Division is anxious to get started working on that, and the city and the county need to invite them to work on that. And so Carl and I met with the Deputy Secretary of NCDOT this summer, Julie White, who runs all their multimodal division, on this. And so exciting. If since you know about trains, know that we're doing a lot of studies right now on expanding passenger rail throughout the state, and have FRA funding to do a number of studies. So a lot of the studies go through Durham, so it's really exciting to think about bike and ped also connecting to trains. So I just wanted to share that. And the next step will be for each of our boards to, consent to a letter to NCDOT Rail asking them to start looking at this. The other good thing is that RTP passed a transit tax. I don't know if people know that. They have approved a transit tax that generates around $4.2 million now a year. And so there is a source of funding to do a study and also to help fund the station there as well. So having money is good. And Carl, I'll say, how about you talk about the FAST 2.0? Or do you have other things to talk about?
Yeah, no, happy to talk about that. So just,
Okay.
yeah. So part of the conversation is about BRT, not only in Durham, the line that we are planning from Duke down to Wellens Village, but also how do these BRT lines all connect across the triangle? So the FAST 2.0 study, I think it's 2.0, right, is sponsored by a group called the Regional Transportation Alliance, which is kind of a leadership group of businesses, electeds, and planners thinking about transit in the triangle. So like they're trying to connect these BRT lines. We talked about this at the council meeting last night. So this is all like kind of long-term stuff, but it's important ways to connect BRT to the different lines that are happening across the different communities. The other thing to mention is that we also talked at the RTA meeting about this idea of an exchange station, it's almost like a freeway cap on top of 40. Because, the big challenge is like, if we built like BRT or had like passenger or regional rail along that sort of 40 spine, how do you get to RDU, right? That's always the big question. Is there like a spur there? And so the idea is to kind of build this like, essentially almost like a platform on top of 40 where BRT buses could come in there, train would be there, and you run a shuttle out from RDU out to that exchange station. So it's a way to kind of get people to RDU without being in cars or taxis, essentially. So it's a long-term vision, but I think it's a kind of a pretty exciting one. And plus with the new transit tax in RTP, it's sort of like there's a source of fun. So some cool stuff there.
And I'll just add the plan, it prioritizes having a designated lane on I-40, 885.
Shoulder,
Yeah, 147, shoulder or even a lane. And also 54 for buses and also, or BRT. So it's really exciting because like we have the business community there from across the region, and to have everyone really excited about buses across the Triangle region is fantastic, and around transit.
Yeah, it sounds really great.
I think I'll add from the city side. So yeah, so exciting stuff. I think we talked about a lot of it. The street closure, which is really exciting. Thanks to all the BPAC members who are agreeing to volunteer to make that a great event. We talked to the Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail is also really exciting. I did also want to shout out John and the folks on BPAC who've been working with Hope Valley Elementary on this school walk zone. I know there's been emails going around back and forth. I don't know if you want anybody to John to talk about that, but I think it's been a really exciting work that we all have actually, I think that work kind of came out of BPAC, right? So like the walk on it. So it's a really important body of work we've done here and really kind of got the city and county folks to work with us on that and DPS. So congrats everybody.
And that was a topic at the joint meeting. And I hope you don't mind, I volunteered to be back to do other, the assessments that you all did, because, you know, there's definitely a capacity issue. And so, and there are other schools that need to be, have a walk assessment done. But the point is, we had the, I forget her name from the city was there. Sorry, Durham Public Schools. Yes, Kristen, Sean, and Ellen all standing up there together, presenting on the follow-up on this issue. And the one thing that wasn't mentioned in Sean's update to you is there also, the city is looking at how to deal with, they're doing a new RFP for around crossing guards. Remember?
Yeah.
Because one of the problems is that the process around hiring crossing guards and training to be a crossing guard is very onerous.
If they're paid, yeah.
Yeah, so that they are looking at some innovative ways to doing a pilot on some other approaches because there have to be crossing guards.
And I'm happy to share on that. So I'm actually leading that project. And for Hope Valley Elementary, as of Friday, there's a crossing guard there now. So that's exciting. And then the 3 other schools will have a crossing guard by, I think, before their school starts, which is the 26th. So yeah, stuff is moving. And John, you were responded to by Sean Egan today, but a ton of stuff has been done by our sign and signal shop. And there's been a lot of collaboration with NCDOT to get some of these improvements done around Hope Valley Elementary. So yeah, it's been a lot of work on both BPAC side and the state and the city, but it's good to see this kind of moving forward, especially sort of in time for the beginning of school. So
there's a beehive of activity around Hope Valley. They were painting the intersections this week. They're putting up the emergency signs for the reduction of the speed from 35 to 25. They've repainted the school signs. Remember the ones that had been paved over that were painted on the street. So it's being transformed this week, and they have the crossing guard. So I assume the principal is aware. I haven't, I'll make a call tomorrow.
yes, they are.
They are.
The principal's aware. And so, yeah, so the other schools that are having the crossing guards is, so Hope Valley, and then CC Spalding, Sandy Ridge Elementary School, and Y.E. Smith Elementary School. So all 4 of those will have the crossing guards for this fall semester, but we're calling it a pilot because we do need to see kind of how this is working. And we don't have funding right now for next semester, or we don't really know the next steps. So we're hoping we'll be able to kind of have some lessons learned pretty quick and figure out what's needed for next semester.
I'd chime in on that.
Sorry, Ed, you had turned it off.
There we go. I was in a meeting on Saturday on transit accessibility, ADA stuff. But anyway, Bob Crum, who some of you may remember, spoke from the public comment session here in June. He's with Durham Can, and he gave a shout out, just expressing just incredible enthusiasm about the fact that, as he put it, a city commission, this one, was so actively engaged in such an important issue. And he was really impressed that the work that BPAC had done around the Hope Valley Elementary School safety issues. So, and also expressed the willingness to continue to be engaged in that as well. So figured I'd share that.
I will say today, just this afternoon, I had 2 people that emailed and said thank you for the crossing guards. So people are noticing, and it's good.
I'm getting teared up, sorry. Yeah, thank you, John, for leading most of this. And like going out there several days or weekends in a row just to see what's happening. Yeah. Big win.
And the work doesn't stop though, so we have to kind of keep pushing this forward.
Yes, we'll definitely keep working. I need to read the email from Sean, but awesome that within 7 months, did a lot of stuff. I mean, most of it happening within the last month. Yeah, but a lot of pushing over those 7 months. Okay, so to be cautious of time, I want to continue on to our other liaisons. Nathan, do you have any updates for the Duke University?
For the university itself, no. Layoffs end tomorrow for this round of layoffs. So I don't think there's any money for them to do anything that we care about.
We currently do not have a NCCU Fayetteville Street Corridor liaison, but does anybody have anything they'd like to say? Okay. From the Vision Zero side, not terribly much updates. I'm still attending the meetings. Things are still happening. Not much to report on. John, do you have an update for the UDO task force? Yeah, we covered it. Okay, great. Ramsey's not here for the DOST liaison report. We'll move on to our committee reports, so community engagement.
Awesome. So we covered volunteer opportunities earlier. The other things we talked about at our monthly meeting last week were the Safe Routes to School video, which is still in progress, optimistic, working with Royal, hoping it will be done by the end of the month, but more to come on that soon. Also, huge shout out to Maggie, who has helped us create a new one-pager that we are using during tabling that includes QR codes to updates on commonly asked about projects, as well as we're in the process of creating, I know we've been talking about this for a little bit of a while now, working with Parks and Rec to put up some trail etiquette signs along the ATT. So we're in the process of designing those. More to come there as well. We also talked about the autonomous cars, like Ed mentioned. Highly, highly recommend the video of his dog driving the car. If you're interested, reach out to him. And then last but not least, Nathan is spearheading a what is an e-bike, what is not an e-bike public information, small social media campaign. So stay tuned for that as we talk about e-bike lovers and haters earlier. We're going to spread more e-bike truth. That is it for community engagement.
Great. I will add, it did come up during the Vision Zero meeting. Was it yesterday? Gosh, I don't remember when it was. It was recently. About e-bikes and ordinances around e-bikes and trail use just throughout the state. 'Cause this was like our quarterly meeting with all of the Vision Zero groups throughout the state. And so they were wondering if anybody had any feedback, and I told them that we were going to look into like, what is an e-bike, what's not an e-bike. They were specifically wanting to know how to communicate with like parents who might be purchasing e-bikes for their children, how to go about doing that, or like what to look for, or just like any ordinances around that. I believe this was specifically somebody in Charlotte where thankfully the person survived their crash, but I believe it was a 16-year-old who crashed their e-bike. I don't know the specifics. They did have to go to the hospital though, but they did survive. So they were like, before this becomes a bigger issue, let's figure out how to talk about it and if we need to have any ordinances around it. So.
Also forgot to mention, Hannah and I were out on Saturday, a quick 2 hours, and we handed out 30 helmets to the youth. Look on our Instagram for the fun little pictures, but it was a small but mighty turnout and everyone loved the helmets. So
Yes,
Hannah.
they were really cute too. So I definitely encourage anyone who's on the edge of, should I volunteer? Should I not? Do it. All the kids will love you. Free helmets. They're super important for their heads and also they love it. So
Great, thank you. John, do you have an update for DevRev?
Sure. We didn't have a lot of activity. There was not much in July and August. We only had 2 cases come up. There were a number of resubmittals, second, third, and fourth resubmittals, but those we've already talked about in previous meetings. One of them was interesting, and that was a development called Morgan Farm. Morgan Farm is on Farrington Mill Road, south of Barbie Chapel. And what's interesting first is this is the 3rd time that they've started over on this
What do
development.
they call this again?
It's called Morgan Farm. It was Sheffield Farm. Okay. But the first time that they tried began in 2022, and they were talking about 800 plus homes or residences, and that failed. And then they came back and it failed again in January, but it was 700 plus commercial. Now it's coming back in the 3rd iteration as 561 multifamily homes and townhomes. And it's interesting for a number of reasons. This is a large project. It's 218 acres, but it has a long frontage on Farrington Mill Road. And if you know that road, it's very scary from a cyclist point of view. I've been on it at least a dozen times. There's too many cars going too fast, and it's not that wide, and there's no shoulder, okay? And a bunch of those vehicles are dump trucks, going from wherever they're picking up product to wherever things are being developed. And so it's a bit scary, but this project fronts Farrington Mill Road for 3/4 of a mile. Okay, so imagine that you have a multi-use path for 3/4 of a mile with an entry and exit ramp is what we're asking for. That makes a big difference for cyclist safety on that road. So that's one reason it's interesting. Second is there's a small development on the north end that extends into the property or to the edge of the property, and they have a trail that kind of runs down that you can see it from the satellite view. What's interesting is in the last iteration, the developers said, "Oh, I don't think they want us to connect to them." Well, I found a map that shows that that trail actually runs 100 yards into the developer's property. They're already connected. So we'll get that connection of continuous trails, which is interesting. This one also has historical interest because the original farmhouse is there and the original building for the slaves, which was a log cabin, is also still there. And those 2 properties will be donated to it as historical group. But the last part of it, that it may be the most interesting, is this property is 1.5 miles long from top to bottom. Along the entire left side of it is Morgan Creek. On the other side of Morgan Creek is the Mason Farm Trail System. Okay, that's managed by the North Carolina Botanical Garden, and it's part of the North Carolina Biological Preserve. Okay, so one of the opportunities might be to connect to that trail system. So I've sent a letter to Director Waite of the North Carolina Botanical Garden and said, look, I don't know whether you're interested in having this much activity added to the trail system. If you are, I just need to know, and then we'll have the developer meet with whoever you want to have him meet with to explore feasibility, because it won't be easy. There's a slope, there's some wetlands there along the Morgan Creek watershed there. Okay, but the properties do touch at the northern tip of the development. Okay, along the left side of it is actually Army Corps of Engineer property. Okay, and that might be a challenge to work across, because usually if they're there, that means there's a flood control, and they're controlling the water going into Jordan Lake. Okay, so, but it's just kind of interesting. That may be a real opportunity. And in the first two iterations, we're not considered. Okay, so we've gone to them and said, look, are you interested? If you're not, then it's dead. Okay, if you are, then give me a contact and we'll have the developer push. And then the question is, if they do it, they're going to have to build a trail over to the other trail system, but they're going to have to build a pedestrian bridge over Morgan Creek. It's not that big a creek, so that's managed. Okay, but that was just an interesting part of it. So we'll know more. They're going to let us know back before we have to respond to the planning, what the deadline is, and then we'll finish that one.
Okay, great. Thank you. Not yet. Update from planning and policy.
Hi. Okay. So an announcement I didn't hear yet tonight. Bike Walk and Sea Summit is September 7th to 9th. And we have BPAC money that can pay for your registration fee if you want to go, according to Hannah. There's also a friendly driver program that they're doing that's online that you could go to. Just Google Bike Walk and Sea, and you can find all the information there. And then ask Hannah to pay a registration fee for you if you want to go.
Yes, and definitely let me know before you do it because I cannot reimburse you. Have to use my P card. So
Yep. Okay. There's bus rapid transit engagement happening that we kind of touched on already. So yeah, about e-bikes, I was thinking of making a video. What is an e-bike? What is it not? In the state of North Carolina, if you're familiar with the class system, only class 1 and 2 e-bikes are e-bikes. So that means 750 watt motor is the maximum motor, and 20 miles per hour is the maximum speed that the bike is allowed to have the motor on at. Like obviously if you're going downhill, you can go faster than 20, but the motor is only allowed to accelerate you up to 20 miles per hour. So that's class 1 means it's pedal assist only. You have to pedal for the motor to do anything. Class 2 means pedal assist and there's a throttle, and that throttle again has to be governed to 20 miles per hour. Those are the only legal e-bikes in the state of North Carolina. Federally, there is the class 3 e-bikes, which are pedal assist up to 28 miles per hour. But the way the current legislation is written, those are not legal in North Carolina. And there was a bill to adopt the class system in North Carolina, but it died in committee. So maybe another one will happen at another session. We'll see. But basically, I wanted to make a video outlining all of that, and also outlining that, like, if the e-bike looks like a dirt bike or a miniature motorcycle, it's probably not a bicycle. Like, if it doesn't look like a bicycle, it's probably not a bicycle. Don't buy your child a moped if your child isn't legally allowed to drive a moped. Like, just because it's an electric moped doesn't make it not a moped. That was going to be the tone and message of the video, is like, because most of the hate that people have for e-bikes is dumb kids doing wheelies on miniature mini bikes with electric motors. It's like with no helmets, and it's like, yeah, that child's gonna die because you gave a 14-year-old with no like risk assessment capabilities something that can go 40 miles per hour. So that's the tone of the video. It'll be nicer in the final iteration, but like drafts 1 through 10, that will be the tone.
I was on a group ride not too long ago, and there were 3 of us, including me, who had class 3s. All of them were small motors, 240 watts, okay? So you're basically pushing 3 extra miles per hour on regular power. It's not like they're taking mine on level ground. I can't get to 27, okay? But I can go downhill a little bit faster than you can because I still got motor support up to 27. But it also is how big is the motor? What was it intended for? It's not just the glass.
Yeah, and I would say that for most of the illegal e-bikes that are sold, really just their shape is the easiest way to tell whether or not it's an e-bike. Does it look like a road bike, a mountain bike, or a beach cruiser? No, it's not a bike.
Okay, before we continue, can I get whatever, I need 10 more minutes added to the agenda.
Motion to add 10 minutes.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor? Those opposed? Great. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the committee and liaison reports? Okay. Anybody else? Chris had one earlier, so yeah.
One of the things that might be interesting going back to the UDO task force, which you covered earlier, is we might need some copies of the NACTO guides. I've got a personal copy of the bicycle one, but the city transit one is interesting, and also the city design, the street design is interesting.
You guys have one?
I do think that they recently released them online, so we don't necessarily need to have print copies, but Chris does have a copy.
Yeah, our department has one, but it's just a print version. And yeah, staff uses it.
But yeah, we can definitely look into that. Okay, announcements and updates. The Durham to Roxborough Rail Trail Public Workshops, which we just covered during the presentation. Duke Gregson Corridor Study Open House will be September 23rd at the Walltown Rec Center from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The Durham Bike Walk Plan Open House will be September 30th at the W.G. Pearson Center from 6 to 8 p.m. And the Roxborough Mangum two-way conversion open house, this is design phase 2, will be October 21st at Global Scholars Academy from 5:30 to 7.
That's right before the BPAC meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
right before
So,
the BPAC meeting.
yeah, had tried to make it where it ended at 7, and that meeting is virtual. So if people do want to go, I'm saying the BPAC meeting is virtual that night. So if people do want to go that night to the in-person open house, you can, and then kind of join on your phone or something when you're kind of done with it. And yeah, unfortunately, that was the only time and day they were available for the booking. I guess the other ones to note though, so Duke Gregson, that's going to be the first open house for this corridor study. We're going to be bringing a couple different alternatives, and I think it'll be good to kind of hear people's thoughts on different designs. And then we will have a couple pop-ups, but this is going to be the main open house for this fall until the next phase of engagement. For the bike walk plan open house, the September 30th one is focused on the city infrastructure side of things. There's also going to be a bike walk plan open house that's probably more outside, probably like North Durham in the county limits. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet, the date and time for that. But that open house, I think, will be important because right now what we're trying to do is we have 50 corridors, 50 intersections, and 50 micro sidewalk gaps. And we are trying to narrow down that list to 25. And so, yeah, definitely need people from the community to kind of speak the importance to the different corridors, and then also, yeah, kind of just have that conversation. And what is going to be discussed at that open house, we are bringing to the next meeting, that is the BPAC meeting in person, again, in person at the Forest Hills Clubhouse. That's going to be the kickoff basically for the bike walk plan second phase of engagement. So if you're not able to go to the one on September 30th, that's fine, because BPAC, we're going to be looking at this stuff at the next month's meeting. And then, yeah, Roxborough Mingham, the two-way conversion, that is going to be the second phase of engagement, and we're actually going to be bringing designs. So I think it'll be kind of interesting to come to that with a little bit more information to see versus the first open house. And then just in general, we're trying to reserve and confirm a bunch of other engagement events that are happening for various projects, such as the resurface things that will be next summer and just some other projects here and there. And so this next month, September and October, and some of November will be pretty heavy with public engagement opportunities. So I'll try to, whenever I do have more information, I'll try to share it out in the listserv. But yeah, and anytime if you're not able to attend one of the events, but you're really interested in it, you can always reach out as well and can put you in contact with the project manager, or, try to make sure your voice is heard.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, we also talked about the Durham Bike Walk plan at the joint meeting. This is the first time that the city and the county have collaborated on a bike and pedestrian plan that is county-wide. And one of the big issues is about pieces of sidewalk that are out in the county that are disconnected, especially around schools. Also that the county, we don't have a payment in lieu program for sidewalk construction. So I encourage BPAC members to think about those issues and weigh in on those issues. It would be great if we can come up with a strategy where there's some type of agreement between or collaboration between the city and the county, where the county can pay the city to maintain and build sidewalks around schools, for instance, that are in the county. Because the county, we don't have the department, we don't have that ability to build or maintain sidewalks. So your input on those issues will be important. I just wanted to highlight that as an ongoing issue. When I was a Forest View parent, almost 30 years ago, there were problems with neighborhoods across the street from Forest View being able to walk to school, and the same sidewalks that are in really bad shape that have, flooding issues and maintenance issues, and it's been 30 years and it has not been figured out. So we need to figure it out. And there are other schools that are the same situation, like Lions Farm Elementary School is another one, Murray Massenburg, that got built without being connected to the neighborhoods right around it. So we need to fix this problem.
Does anybody else have any announcements or updates? Go ahead.
On the legislative and pedestrian front, North Carolina has had a law on the books for quite a while. It's known as the White Cane Law, or the Blind Pedestrian Right-of-Way Law. It's GS 20175.2. It was recently amended in session earlier this year because it's never had an enforcement provision. So as of December 1st of this year, there will now be violations of the law, which essentially it says that drivers must yield the right-of-way to a person using a white cane with a red tip or a guide dog at street crossings. And there was never any consequence to that for violations. And so they amended it in session earlier this year to make it a Class 2 misdemeanor. There are fines and potential jail time. But I bring it up because I think there's just an opportunity to not necessarily publicize the punishment aspect of it, but just the existence of it. So I'm going to work on developing maybe a flyer I can talk about this in the September community outreach meeting as well, where perhaps when we're tabling, just it can be made available to passersby, people interested, just to bring to people's attention the fact that if they're driving and they see a person with a white cane or a guide dog crossing a street, there's an obligation to yield and in some cases to stop and wait for the person to get all the way across the street. So hooray for the legislature on that one. It's, again, it's not necessarily the fact that it's become a misdemeanor, but it's going to bring it more, there's an opportunity to bring it to public attention. So there's that.
Yeah, that's good to know. I will say that in general in North Carolina, you are required to yield to any pedestrian at a crosswalk, whether it is marked or unmarked. So, and whether that pedestrian is seeing able or not. So, but it is good to know that that specific rule exists because I didn't know that specifically for visually impaired people. Any other announcements or updates?
Yes, we forgot to have it on the agenda, but we have a couple minutes. Can we look at the upcoming topics for meetings? Because we have the September one figured out. Brian and myself are going to be the guest speakers for that with the bike walk, but we don't have anyone lined up for October, November, or December. And also some of the meeting topics. Maybe we want to take them off, maybe we want to keep them on. Yeah, if we can talk about that real fast. Unless people don't care and we just figure it out offline, but.
Unless there's something that like stands out specifically to anybody on this list, I would maybe suggest email me, Hannah and Trent, for recommendations. I know I have one. I have something in my inbox from Scott Carter about trails. Sure. I don't remember what it was specifically, but it's marked as unread. And I believe I have another one, and we were trying to reschedule the greenhouse gas emissions presentation from Dr. Frey, and that has not been rescheduled yet. So if there's anything out on this list that stands out to you that you want to be responsible for, feel free to shout that out now. Otherwise, email me your suggestions. If there's something on this list that we've definitely already done and don't need to redo, feel free to let me know as well so that we can remove it.
Do you think, so October is the week without driving, right?
It's September 29th through October 5th. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the October one will be after that. I was going to say, because that's one of the topics, and I was like, maybe doing that training for one, but.
I mean, I could still, at the very least, I can send out my workbook and we could still try to schedule a training around it in general for, I mean, like Hope was saying before with the World Relief efforts, there's people in Durham who need to get around without a vehicle. So this is a pressing issue regularly. There's a significant population in Durham that doesn't own a vehicle. So it doesn't necessarily have to be for the week without driving. It could just be in general how to get around Durham without a car. Also, if anybody knows how to do video editing and wants to help me make some videos for the week without driving around train stations, hit me up because I've got recordings and I've not compiled them. So, yeah.
So is the sheriff supposed to come in October?
So we invited the sheriff to come in September.
Oh, September, he's coming. Okay.
Yes.
So I just want to say that's a really good opportunity. Whatever issues that BPAC would like to discuss with him.
Yeah, I did suggest in my response that if there's any, if they would like to do a presentation, maybe with DPD on any pedestrian or bicycle safety that they are currently doing or plan to do. That could be an option. But to address the concerns from our letter, that would be September's meeting. Yep.
One suggestion. So BPAC played a big role in helping to pass the bonds last fall. And so we said that sidewalk construction was going to start in 2025. So I think, and a lot of that construction takes place in the summer months. I think in October, having an update, like what have we done in 2025 with bond funds to build sidewalks would be a good update to get.
That sounds good to me. Would that be transportation or public works?
I feel like it would probably be, well, now Works is environmental, yeah, street services. So I feel like it would probably be them, maybe like a co-presentation, but that would be a good time in October because that's when we're also having to think through CIP requests, so funding. So maybe, yeah, October could be funding and each, yeah.
Sounds good to me.
And stuff. Who wants to be responsible for coordinating that?
You. I can reach out to people unless anybody else wants to.
All right, Mary, I'll put your name on it.
Okay, I'll be emailing you.
Yeah, and then, but copy me on those, yeah.
Okay, okay. All right, we are at 1 minute over. Pretend that didn't happen. Motion to adjourn the meeting. Great, we're doing, oh wait, all those in favor? All those opposed? All right, it's over.